Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and you are listening to For the Fan, episode number 131. As always, I'm the Grill Master, Will, and we got Colton, Jake, and Dom here. Gentlemen, hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, Wednesday. I mean, we got 12 more teams to go in this divisional round RV trip all over the country. I mean, we only got an East Coast team and a West Coast team left, so cross country is going to be the next 2 weeks. But yeah, AFC North this week. Let's just remind everyone. All the teams, they finished over 500 last year. Can anyone tell me the last time a division had all four teams finish over 500?
No, it's not that serious.
Was it the AFC North last or no?
No, it was called the NFL West. That's how long ago it's been.
That's crazy.
You go back to the 50s. The NFL West included the Packers, the Bears, the Lions, and then the Cardinals, who I believe were in St. Louis. So, yeah, that's an interesting tidbit that no one knew and nor will anyone care about. But yeah, hey, that's who it is. Thank you for TikTok for tuning in. Follow us on all the social medias down below there: YouTube for the Fan Network, TikTok for the Fan Network, Twitter and/or X. We're gonna figure out X, so we go live on every single week for the Fan, and Instagram for the Fan Football. Yeah, hey. Are you guys ready to rumble here?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Ready to rumble.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and you are listening to For the Fan.
You are listening to For the Fan.
As always, thank you all for tuning in. Crazy times in July and August as we go through division by division, previewing every single team, being able to talk about every single team on the show, because at some point we just stopped talking about certain teams because they were just so not able to be talked about anymore. But yes, this is the time we get to talk about all of them. And we're going to go into the AFC North here. One of the most toughest divisions to be in last year especially, all teams finishing over 500. We started with the worst team, and we make our way to the division winner. And I can't even say if the Bengals are the worst team, because finishing 9-8, you're number 2 in most divisions, or in the NFC South, you're winning it every single year at that record. So let's just start. Let's go in right here to your Cincinnati Bengals, who a year ago, very injury-filled for Joe Burrow, as in training camp, he hurt his hamstring, calf injury, goes down really early in training camp, I think like second or third day. Really dealing with it throughout the whole season. They have injuries going all through the offensive line, the defense. They can't really catch a break. Burrow finally, starts getting healthy. They're starting to get into a rhythm until a Thursday night game in Baltimore. A touchdown pass to Joe Mixon. He breaks his wrist, tearing ligaments and all that kind of stuff. Season appeared to be over, but a man by the name of Jake Browning helps revitalize this team, kind of gets them really close to the playoffs. But a 9-8 record, despite not having Joe Burrow. You're missing T. Higgins with a hamstring injury. Jamar Chase was kind of in and out of the lineup. Yeah, in 2024, they're hoping to get back on track, try to climb up the ranks again. As we can go looking into the offense here. Amarius Mims is their first-round pick. He has a pec injury. He's going to be out for several weeks, and I know pec injuries are kind of the same as hamstring injuries. You don't know what they're going to be or how they're going to recover. It's kind of like a weird way of working that, but the offensive line, it's really the same. You lose Jonah Williams, he goes to Arizona. He's playing right tackle there for Kyler Murray. Trent Brown now comes in from New England to the Bengals. And yeah, no Tyler Boyd. I mean, reliable for Cincinnati, always a part of that receiving core for so long. He's not there anymore. He goes to Tennessee, and they also lose Callahan, who now becomes the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And, well, may as well mention this too. Joe Mixon, not there anymore. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, Chris Evans. There's newness in the backfield, which we haven't seen in a very long time. But that's all I have to say on this team. And who knows what's going to happen going forward with the Cincinnati Bengals.
So is this the first camp and offseason that Burrow's been healthy since the Super Bowl year?
He played only 3 snaps in, well, I shouldn't even say healthy. I mean, he was coming off of that wrist injury, so
Well, he was coming off the ACL the rookie year too. Like he healthy for camp.
As healthy as he could be, yeah. Because last year or 2 years ago, he had appendicitis. Last year was the calf. COVID was his rookie year. The ACL was his second year, and he already played. I think like double the amount of snaps he's ever played in the preseason. So
I think he had back-to-back calf injuries too in the preseason. That he was starting.
Yeah, like last season was a calf injury. Then the appendicitis was the season before that. Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
I remember that first 4 weeks, 2 seasons ago, he looked terrible and then became Joe Burrow again.
This team's kind of weird. I mean, I don't know. Running back situation got worse, I guess. Zach Moss isn't bad. I'm not calling him bad. He's just Joe Mixon worked really well in this offense, and they did well with him. And Tyler Boyd, I feel like, is a loss no matter who you put there pretty much as a third wide receiver because he's basically like the most reliable, best third wide receiver in the league every year pretty much, I feel like. So I don't know if this team got worse. I wouldn't say that they got better, but I also don't know how much it matters because it's like Joe Burrow and the Bengals and like same head coach, same pretty much everything. Like, I don't know. I expect this team to play well. I expect it to be still, any team that goes up against this team, it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be, you're going to have to play to beat this team no matter what. So I don't know.
Team's difficult in Madden, especially this one. Forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, this team is very, very good offensively. I mean, you know what you're getting. It all comes down to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's healthy. They are competing for the division. If not, if Joe Burrow gets hurt, they are going to be at the bottom of the division, just like a lot of the teams in this division. They're quarterback-driven. Cleveland. If it's any of these other teams, if it's Baltimore, they lose Lamar, they're screwed. If it's the Bengals, they lose their quarterback, they're screwed. So
I wouldn't even say if the Bengals are screwed. I mean, like Jake Browning played really good. Like down
they're not going to win the division. That's my point. They're not going to win the division, and they didn't win the division or make the playoffs without Joe Burrow. So that's kind of what makes this team go. I mean, just like the rest of the league. I mean, let's be serious here. All comes down to the quarterback. We all know how good Joe Burrow is. If he's healthy, they're legitimate contenders. And this is probably one of the last seasons you'll get with this tandem of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because Lord knows what they're going to do with T. Higgins when it comes to paying him. But I will say, while we're on the offense still, the addition of Mike Gesicki, I love that for them. I feel like Joe Burrow used the heck out of his tight ends. The fact that he's got a legitimate tight end in Mike Gesicki, I think that could be a piece for them going forward. I think someone mentioned last week a fantasy option to look out for. That's a fantasy tight end that you can actually write late in your books. I think that could be really good for you and Mike Gesicki.
And you don't have to worry about like the run blocking too with Gesicki either, because this isn't like a run first team. Like this is a pass first team. And I know
that's what I'm saying. This is strong. He's a very underrated pickup.
I liked him in New England, honestly. Obviously, we didn't have much to offer him, which was unfortunate. It just was what it was.
You only paid him $9 million to.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys also don't really use tight ends that can't block. Like they don't see the field in New England.
And we still had Hunter Henry ahead of him. Like it was what it was. But we used him at times, Gesicki, and he caught the ball and he would play, and I liked him when we used him. It just wasn't often, and it was what it was. We didn't have much to offer him.
Will's laughing just like me with that description. I know Will laughing
at him. He catches
we threw the football,
it.
He catches the ball.
I mean, that's the job description.
What you want? I don't know. He didn't make.
That's what he has on the Indeed resume there. Throw the ball to me. I will catch the ball.
What are your skills? Catching the ball,
running with the ball, hopefully scoring the ball.
He didn't make mistakes, and that's really what mattered. It's not.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna be. I think that's an underrated signing. If you look at like an underrated pickup, kind of like not splashy, like a Stephon Diggs type of Gesicki at tight end, because Joe Burrow has always used his tight end from Uzama to Simple last year to now Mike Gesicki, who's like a legitimate receiving threat. So I think that's a big move.
And he's a tall guy. He get up and grab the football.
That's a big threat for them.
I didn't hype up a receiver too.
Am I able to hype up a receiver here?
Hype up a receiver?
Yeah.
Are you going the same place I am?
The slot guy right there, Andre Josifach, Ivy Leaguer out of Princeton.
Oh, no.
He's going to be a big guy. He's going to do he's going to do work this year. I think he could really fill in the Tyler Boyd role of, 50, 60 catches, 600-700 yards, maybe 800 yards, handful of touchdowns, 4 to 7.
See, I was going with Charlie Jones, the Purdue product. Like, because
I think the Ivy Leaguer's better though. I'm just saying.
That's Charlie Jones is like the next incarnation of like Hunter Renfrow.
I mean, look who's a free agent right now. Hunter Renfrow.
That's funny. The Saints should have signed him for Carr. Different team, but whatever.
But Hunter Renfrow for those couple of years was sick.
Yeah, he was a great route runner.
Thanks,
that showed that one route that he ran like every other week for like a year.
Cut in and back out. Yep.
Yeah. So
Clemson's national championship touchdown right there. I don't really have much else in this offense. I mean, receiving battles after T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is going to be the interesting piece, and then when will Mims get back into the lineup from his pec injury is going to be a thing to be seen. So
it's really what Colton said. If Joe Burrow is healthy, this team's good. It doesn't matter. That's just kind of where it's at.
Yeah, as long as they have really Burrow and then Jamar, that connection is too nuts to stop.
And as long as the O-line is better than like the Super Bowl year, then he's fine. I mean,
yeah.
So he made it to the Super Bowl on like a terrible O-line. So the O-line's still not even, it'll be what we expect it to be, I'm sure. So defense.
Let's shift over to the defense here where I think this is the most underrated pick on their defense, though, is the addition of Geno Stone, who was a ball hawk in Baltimore. I know we talked about this during, free agency and all that stuff. I know Jake really liked the move there. You had to replace what's his face that went to Atlanta, drawing a blank on him. If anyone could pull up the name really quick. But Geno Stone, Von Bell returns after a very brief stint with the Carolina Panthers. The secondary slowly becoming one again. Cam Taylor-Britt's going to be, rising the ranks there. DJ Turner as well, because, Woozy's now in Nashville with the Titans as well. And also let's not forget here, Sheldon Rankins from Houston. He shifts in. He goes from Houston to Cincinnati here. Really kind of fills in that void on the defensive front there.
I actually like this defense a lot. I like the line. I don't mind the secondary at all. I feel like this whole starting roster are guys that can genuinely play. I don't mind it.
It's a lot more depth than I was expecting.
Yeah. It's a filled out defense for sure.
Like there's a lot more depth than I was expecting. Just solid players who, worst case scenario, they come in, you're not worried about them.
Yeah. Colton, how do you feel as being in this division? How do you feel about this defense?
It's a solid defense. Trey Hendrickson requesting a trade this offseason as well. Doesn't seem like they're going to move him because, again, same thing like with T. Higgins. There's no point in doing it. This team is kind of like a final dance team. This team, I think, could look very, very different after this offseason. And by the way, the safety you were talking about was Jesse Bates.
Yes.
So it's the safety that went.
Hawk.
But, I mean, this is it's a very good defense. I love Trey Hendrickson. I actually thought that guy that the Jets should have picked up when it came time.
I know a guy that they could trade to get him.
I hate you. Please. Keep your Jets nonsense out of this.
You mentioned the Jets. I had a comment there.
Their back end is really good. Like this is a very, very good defense. I think Logan Wilson's one of the most underrated middle linebackers in the game. Jermaine Pratt, what you're getting from him. Like this is a legitimate, solid AFC North defense. Like this is what it is. Like this is a legitimate AFC North defense right here.
Let's also not forget too Chris Jenkins, though. Although he's not a starter on this team, I know they're going to be rotating their defensive guys. If he's anything like his father, forget about it. Forget about it. Chris Jenkins, his dad was a baller, playing for the Panthers and the Jets, and if he can even fill in those footsteps that his dad left after playing in the league, yeah, good luck.
Like they have a legitimate front. They have a legitimate front and a very solid back end. Like this is a legitimate team. This is definitely an AFC North defense. When you go through the whole AFC North, they're loaded up on defense. It's a slugfest.
But that's the identity. That's AFC North in a nutshell. I mean, it just is every single year. AFC North, every defense you are against in the AFC North, you have to compete. Like, they are not letting you win games easy no matter what. That's how it's always been. That's always been the identity. It's never changed. So this is very much on par.
There's a little bit of that like rotating defensive line going on too.
Yeah.
Where they can just sub guys out and keep them fresh.
Yeah, I
know that's going to be needed, especially when you're playing against your rivals in the North.
Yeah,
you're going to need that. And then
a guy like Lamar who had to chase after him a lot.
It's true.
Yeah.
Even Russ. Russ is not. No, he moves.
Is he starting? We'll get to that.
All right, let's
get to the schedule here, Jake. I know your eyes were hurting yourself last week, so we made sure this was as family friendly as possible for the schedule. I found this. Okay.
Stupid. This schedule.
So I'll blame you if I can't read it.
No, you can. A kindergartner could probably read it because it was built by one. Look at the Patriots logo up here. What the heck is that, dude? No, there's the Steelers logo.
Steelers logo. Dom and I split the Commanders one since we're fake fans.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, the Commanders logo. The Eagles one's at the top, but it's cut off. I was trying to find a better one where the Eagles one wasn't, half on the screen.
Is that the Titans on the left?
That's the Titans logo.
This is what we've been waiting for. Easy to read schedule.
And then there's Tony the Tiger or whatever his name is right there at dead center.
Mascots versus the Pop Warner players.
Such a weird, random schedule, bro.
I really like the beginning of the schedule. I mean, besides you got to play the Chiefs and the Ravens. In the first 6 weeks, you could really go 4-2, and if you can flip one of those games early, you could possibly go 5-1, and you could really start right in your season as it's going. I can already chalk up the Browns as a loss for them because they can't play the Browns for whatever reason. Joe Burrow is just awful playing the Browns.
Who decided week 2 should be Kansas City versus them? That should have been like week 15.
I mean, they did that last year. Look what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they get that one though.
It's very possible.
Like Joe Burrow healthy.
Yeah.
I think they take that one.
It's possible as hell.
I'm not scared of them facing the Patriots, the Commanders, Panthers, Giants, Raiders.
They have one
6-2. I have them as the
going in the bye.
No, going the first 2 rows.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned this last year, but like the AFC North, realistically, you can go 3-3. I mean, that's like all the teams. Despite them being 9-8, they did go 1-5 in the division.
Mm-hmm.
If they are able to switch one of those games with like Pittsburgh, maybe one of the Ravens games, then we could have seen the first ever division, all 4 of them making the playoffs at the same time.
Bro, I have an easy 10 wins, like an easy double-digit schedule, I feel like.
Yeah, I think if Burrow's healthy.
Yeah, Burrow's healthy. They win 10 games easily.
Easy.
Mm.
Like not.
All it comes down to, man. The problem is with him is you have injury history, so it's like, okay, it's 10 wins, but it's
what's ailing him during the season?
Yeah,
there's always something. I mean, there's always something.
What is?
What?
I mean,
is the white? Is the white?
White is the way, and then the black background is home.
All right, that Steelers game could be rough at the end of the season if they need that.
Both of them are going to be rough. I mean, Steelers in December, forget about it. That's a good football team.
If they need that game for first place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's going to be cold. That's going to be rough. That's going to be an insane game if they need that game. If they have to play in that game.
That's a game where you just where everyone gets hurt.
That's brutal, bro. That's a tough ending to any season for the Steelers and for the Bengals, both ways. That's brutal. But other than that, I mean, double digit 10 is your floor. If Burrow's healthy, I think 10 is easily your floor, and then you can work from there if you steal some of these games. Yeah. Also, you know what's bothering me? Everything about this, I mean, we're back to the schedule thing here. The font of this 2024 schedule thing is all cool and whatnot until I get to the U, and the U bothers the hell out of me. Everything
the S didn't bother you? The fact that the S looks like a 5? That didn't bother you?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But that U is just like, you did all capital letters, and then you did something with this U, and it's just like, bro, the schedule.
Is the fact that it's kindergarten the reason why I could read it?
I thought of you. I was like, okay, I need to make sure Jake can read it and not turn out to be Dom where he's squinting the entire time and just damaging the eyes ever so progressively.
That's why I have this screen. So when you bring up the offenses and defenses, I look over here because it's way closer to my eyes than this one is. But all right, let's move on. Hey, how about that?
Let's move on here to Pittsburgh. Colton, I don't know if you want to take the reins here because this is your team. I don't want to take anything away from you and your team. I mean, I'm going to let you speak on it and just, let you go.
You're going to let me cook? Let me cook?
Yeah,
first of all, the fact that you put burnt toast on the front page of this photo is really, really worrisome.
I couldn't find anything that was like
burnt toast, Levi Wallace, and you have Mitch Trubisky in the back. So we're starting off great here. But again, welcome to Pittsburgh. Again, big offseason for the Steelers. New quarterbacks are in the door. Kenny Pickett's out. Mr. Trubisky out. They insert Justin Fields. They bring in Russell Wilson. The wide receiver position is probably the biggest question mark when you look at this offense. George Pickens is clearly the number one guy now, established number one receiver. They trade away Deontay Johnson, bring in Dante Jackson to replace burnt toast Levi Wallace. So it's going to be an interesting season for the Steelers. Clearly, all the quarterback controversy is kind of where this team is starting off at. So thankfully, you can back this out and give me the offense, gents, and bring you all back in here because right now we've seen a lot of Justin Fields so far in Pittsburgh with I
got you,
Russell Wilson. Thank you. Thanks, Coach. Let me cook. So, speaking of cooking, Russell Wilson cooking. Let Russ cook. He's been hurt starting off camp with a calf injury. They're slowly bringing in the old man back into the swing of things in Pittsburgh. So they have not committed to playing him next week. So could be Justin Fields again taking advantage of all these snaps. But the Steelers went into this offseason, get new quarterbacks, which Omar Khan has done a great job. And second was buffing up the offensive line. So they draft Troy Fautanu out of Washington in the first round that fell to their lap. And they draft Zach Frazier in the second round, center out of West Virginia, who is, again, one of the top two centers behind Jackson Powers out of Oregon in the draft. The fact that the Steelers got one of the better tackles in the draft and they got one of the better centers in the draft without trading up or doing anything, I think Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin had themselves a heck of a draft in the offseason. So, again, they draft Roman Wilson in the third round out of Michigan. They bring in Cordero Patterson, which was really interesting because they literally did that as the new rule change came out on returns. So you bring in one of the better return guys in the game, Cordero Patterson. I think the Steelers offense is definitely there in a really good spot to make some noise. And if they get halfway decent quarterback play, I think the Steelers are one of the better teams in football. I'm not going to mention Brandon Ayuk. I've lost my marbles the last 2 weeks hearing about this guy. So for me, he's a San Francisco 49er. He's going to be a San Francisco 49er. He's playing games. I'm not interested in it. I want it to be over with. But if the Steelers somehow get him, I think the Steelers are a legitimate top 2 team to compete in the AFC when you look at their roster. So, I mean, we're just looking at the offense right now. Wait till we get to the defense. If they somehow pair Ayuk with George Pickens and Freiermuth and Jalen Warren and Najee Harris with a top 15 offensive line, I think the Steelers are going to be in a really, really good place to succeed and, be a big problem for teams. Gents, the floor is yours. What are your thoughts outside of the biased Steeler fan here?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to make
No, wait. Can I go first? I don't want you to steal my thunder.
Okay, talk. Hey.
I think us skipping over the obvious fact that running back number 1 after week 4 is clearly going to be Cordero Patterson is a mistake.
He was number 1 on the depth chart going into the Texans game in the preseason.
That's what I'm saying. So don't forget about him. He's a dynamic player, and Falcons brought him in as a running back. He became a wide receiver and running back and tight end and everything else, and he was fantastic. So, there you go. I mean, quietly, though, bringing a guy like that in is not bad. That's pretty cool. And then aside from, I actually really like the receivers that they've added, and I like how this team is built at this moment. So, if you can get a little bit more out of Najee Harris, and we see Najee Harris for once, I feel like that would be cool. But I feel like this is an offense that could thrive, honestly. I will say, as long as, like you said, Colton, quarterback play is good, or at least like slightly above average, I think this is a successful team, or successful at least offseason, going into a season and everything.
So
I like the team.
here's my question: who does Colton think gives him the best chance to win between Wilson and Fields?
It's a good question.
I got to see Russ on the field. So I got to see how he looks with Pickens and these guys and Van Jefferson. So, I mean, if we had the same numbers that Russ put up in Denver last season, the Steelers are probably winning the division with all the injuries last year. To be honest, he had, 26 touchdowns and 8 picks? Like, if the Steelers had those numbers, the Steelers probably win the division last season. So, and the fact that they had, I think, 13 total from their quarterbacks, that's quite disgusting. So, I just want the best quarterback. Trust me, as far as future-wise, I've said this to a lot of Steeler guys, being a part of Steeler Nation. Trust me, I want to see Justin Fields. I'm not stupid here. I prefer to see Justin Fields. Younger guy, he's future. He's younger than Kenny Pickett. That's what I'd rather see. But the same token, if Russ gives them the best chance to winning, he's going to give the best quarterback play. I want Russ, man. I'm so tired of mediocre quarterback play since like the tail end of Ben. I just want good quarterback play because the roster is good. And not to take a shot, Dom, but the only thing that scares me on this roster is the wideouts. Like, I like Van Jefferson. He's kind of had the Antonio Brown mindset out of camp so far. After camp, him and Calvin Austin are out there catching 300 balls. So Van Jefferson came in, like, talking with the wide receiver coaches. What did Antonio Brown do that made him so successful? And they talked to him. It was like, he's catching 300 balls at the practice. And, again, is it going to be Antonio Brown? Absolutely not. Antonio Brown was in a league of his own, had probably one of the best stretches in NFL history in a 5-year span. But no, just the fact that Van Jefferson's putting the work in, I'm really glad about that. But the problem is I don't like Van Jefferson being my number 2 wide receiver. Then Roman Wilson gets hurt before the first preseason game. He's out a few weeks with an ankle injury. So the fact that you're not getting Roman Wilson playing time, and the Steelers weren't going to throttle him in anyway. But the wide receiver position is really worrisome for me. Not saying George Pickens can't do it. I know what George Pickens is. He's very good. You throw the ball up to him, it's probably a 50-50 ball. No, it's probably like 75-25 for George Pickens. So I just don't like the other receiver option where if they bring in Brandon Ayuk, I'm totally different. I'm going to be talking a lot of smack regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers because the wide receiver group goes from probably, around 20 wide receiver core to instantly a top 5 receiving core with Pickens and Ayuk as your 1-2 punch. I mean, that's just have fun guarding it, then Freiermuth over the middle. Like this is going to be a team, if they somehow, if Omar Khan pulls off Brandon Ayuk, somehow pulls it out of his rear end, this is a legitimate super contending team. So right now, I think they make the playoffs. They're probably in the middle of the road, the AFC North, which is fine. You can make the playoffs in it with 9-10 wins. I think that's where Pittsburgh is at now. If they were somehow to throw in a Brandon Ayuk, I think they're legitimate contenders in the AFC, not just the AFC North, especially when you take a look at this defense.
Yeah, you took my my question away because I was going to be like the drop off from George Pickens is kind of staggering because Roman Wilson, yes. He's not getting those practice reps right now, especially as a rookie. So that's going to be you don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1 because I know all ankle injuries are going to be different. But I do like Quez Watkins up there, and I think maybe Scotty Miller can make.
I don't like Quez Watkins. After the first preseason game, cut his ass. Dude just fumbled every ball possible. Goodbye.
I would like him for the speed portion. So, like, if Patterson.
Well, he got to catch the ball. So, I mean, the thing is on his resume, the problem is on his resume, it's not catching balls. That's the problem on his resume.
He was the one that fumbled in the Washington game.
Yes.
Before we even got started, I was going to make a joke and says, like, we're all positive here Quez Watkins is not making the roster, right?
That's funny.
Quez Watkins is a guy who never uses the skills that he has and fumbles every chance he gets.
But no, Will, you're 2,000% correct. Like, there's a huge drop-off.
I know I don't want to put Ayuk into the air because, he's not a Steeler.
No, I'm tired. At this rate, like, after our text messages yesterday, I'm like, oh, my God, he's a Steeler. And then it's like, oh, no, he's just leveraging and probably just wants to get a deal done in San Francisco. So, and I don't blame him. I'd rather be in San Francisco. But, like, stop playing this game. Like, just show up and take the number. If San Fran's going to be tight on it, like, bro, they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. Stop being stupid to sign the damn contract.
And then I was going to also mention too, tight end 3. I mean, it's really going to be a battle between Connor Hayward if he's going to be playing fullback this year or not, and then Michael Pruitt. I think it's going to come down to Arthur Smith. Does he want to keep Michael Pruitt because he's been with him from like Tennessee and the Atlanta days? Is that what's going to be? Because Darnell Washington's going to be your tight end 2. Freiermuth's your tight end 1. That's the only other thing I have to say on that.
Is that why Cordero Patterson's on this team?
Yeah, well, that has to have at least somewhat of a saying on that too.
That makes sense.
I think it was what I mentioned earlier. I think it's the return game. I think the return game could possibly be like huge with this new setup. They kickoffs like literally as soon as they announced the new rule change, they saw like Cordero Patterson was announced like right after the rule was changed for kickoff. So I think he's going to be the big. He could be that extra wideout type deal. They might use him out wide as kind of like a mismatch thing. He's been hurt at the start of camp, too. I think he's finally getting onto the field in the next day or two. So haven't even seen Cordell Patterson in a Pittsburgh uniform yet. So, again, there's a lot to look forward to. And the big one is quarterback play. What are you getting from Russ? What are you getting from Justin? So hopefully we see Russ this week against Buffalo and go from there.
Defense?
Let's shift to the defense here.
Bread and butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your typical AFC North
about
football, man. It's your typical AFC North football. You have two of the best, probably the best edge rusher tandem in football, and Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. You know what you're getting from those two guys. Larry Ogunjobi, they signed a few years back from Cleveland and Cincinnati, who's been a good cornerstone piece up front there with Cam Hayward, Walter Payton Man of the Year. And Keanu Benton, I think, is one of those underrated nose tackle guys up front. Kind of reminds me of Javon Hargrave when they first drafted him out of South Carolina State before he left in a free agent contract to go to Philly. So I think Keanu Benton is a really good player that they drafted last year to Wisconsin. In the big offseason acquisition, I am very pumped about it. And that would be the man from Baltimore. That'd be Patrick Queen, who got himself a nice, hefty contract. The Steelers have been missing that middle linebacker for years now since Ryan Shazier. They put Cole Holcomb in last year. He ends up blowing his knee out, I think, like week 4 or 5 at the game. It was at the Tennessee game. So I'm trying to remember what game it was. Anyway, he blew his knee out. And Landon Roberts got hurt later in the season. So they're throwing in guys like Mark Robinson, and they needed security, safety in the middle of the field. And they got in Patrick Queen. That's a do-it-all type of guy. So I'm pumped for him coming to Pittsburgh. Dante Jackson has had a really good camp so far, which was to trade with Deontay Johnson in Carolina. So that was kind of like a talking piece. It was like, oh, he wasn't that good for Carolina last year. And again, some of the guys that have been at camp the first 10 days, I called him like, yo, what are you giving me, Brandon? What are you giving me? What's been your surprise? He goes, Dante Jackson has been my surprise. He's had his share of getting cooked by Pickens, which everyone's going to have their moments of getting cooked by Pickens. He's one of the best wideouts in the game. But he goes, dude, he's definitely had his number. Like, he's been very good. I'm like, holy cow, the fact that you have Joey Porter Jr. that you drafted last year at Penn State and how good he was his rookie season. To then have Dante Jackson on the other side, I'm like, oh, my God, no more burnt toast, Levi Wallace. So I'm super pumped for this defense. You know what you're getting from Minka. Deshaun Elliott, I think, is another underrated pickup that they got in the offseason. So, and my big shout-out onto this defense before I stop rambling on here is Peyton Wilson. I think that might be the steal of the draft, not just Pittsburgh-wise, like their big pick. I think the whole NFL as a whole, the fact the Steelers got Peyton Wilson is bonkers to me. It was kind of linked that they liked him. The fact that the guy has no knees, but if you watch him play football, that dude is a legitimate, like Luke Kuechly guy, see ball, get ball type of linebacker. So. And he showed it in the first preseason game. He was all over the field, had the first tackle on the kickoff, had the first tackle in the first defensive possession against C.J. Stroud and those guys. That might be one of the biggest picks in the draft is Peyton Wilson. So, gents, pick apart my sucking of the Steelers defense. I know there's holes at places you're going to pick. I don't care. This is a legitimate AFC North defense.
I was gonna say, like, the only hole I know is the middle linebacker spot because, like, again, you went from Lawrence Timmons, who was a stud for all those years in Pittsburgh. You go to Shazier, who had that unfortunate neck injury, spinal cord injury, where he's not playing again. They've been really trying to fill that void for the last 7 years now. It's been a very long time, and they've just not
Yeah,
been
one
successful.
from Devin Bush. I mean, John Bostic. You name the band-aids they put over it, and they did it with Bush, drafted him high, and he just sadly blew his knee out, and he was never the same player.
I think with the four that they have here, with Queen, Roberts, Peyton Wilson, or Holcomb, I think one of these guys are eventually going to stick to the wall, and you're like, okay, hey, we finally have at least half of our middle linebackers filled in. Didn't they have Miles Jack for like a brief stint too?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, like I know it's been like up and down. That's been like kind of like the crucial thing. You just need, your guy who could call out all the plays and stuff, who could read the field. And I hope Queen can do it, because I know he's going to have a fire under his ass after Baltimore kind of traded for Roquan Smith and was like, you know what? Okay, hey, we signed him to a big deal. They kind of told him kick rocks, get out of here. He's going to have that fire under his ass where he's going to try to.
He got paid. One of the best middle linebackers in the game. So I was losing my marbles when they got Patrick Queen. Like, holy God, they actually got a legitimate middle of the field linebacker. So the fact they got him, I'm pumped about it. And then Cole Holcomb was actually good for them before he blew his knee out. So, like, you can slowly bring him back in. He doesn't have to rush back in after his ACL injury. So, and you got Peyton Wilson there along with Landon Roberts, who's, a good run stopper. So I'm pumped about this defense. It's a legitimate AFC North defense, and I think they're, going to set the tone. I mean, what gets paid in this league is edge rushers, and you have two of the best in Highsmith and probably top two guy in TJ Watt. I mean, fun with that.
I actually really like this defense. I really do. And Dante Jackson, I don't know if you remember this picture from a couple years ago. This is what always stood out to me, is that dude can jump over like an 18-wheeler. Dude can literally there's a picture of him jumping and intercepting the ball, and it was like you could fit absolutely another one of him under him, and it was insane. So, I mean, like, the dude is an absolute baller. He's super athletic. I really like that signing or trade and whatever. But I just think this is a pretty solid team. Like, you look at all these starters right down the line, I'd be very happy with it.
See, I think I was going to piggyback off that. My one issue, which is my continuing issue with the Steelers and their defense, which healthy, they're unreal.
Yeah.
The depth is always a question after your two edge rushers. You always have the two edge rushers who are just studs. If one gets hurt, then you don't really fill it that well.
Well, I guess
I would say I beg to differ. Nick Herbig is a rookie last year, and he was really raw, and I think 5 or 6 sacks. So, and that was a guy taken like the 4th round, where you had a lot of those top end edge rushers, and they did not nearly have the same amount of numbers for a guy that's playing maybe 10 snaps, 15 snaps a game. So I hear it. They brought back what's his name, and then he retired. They brought back Marcus Golden, who was there last year. I think he had like 4 or 5 sacks, and he was a free agent, signed with the Steelers, and then retired like the next day. So I like Nick Herbig. I get what your point is. TJ goes down, Highsmith goes down. I like Herbig a lot, and so do the Steelers. So
I think I saw
that was taken.
Both Nate and Nick Herbig.
That is correct. Yes.
wow.
Yeah, this team is obsessed with brothers. Just in case you're wondering, this is a big family-oriented organization.
Football's a brothership, man.
Well, I mean, you got Joey Porter. You got Joey Porter. You drafted last year. Clearly, his pops. One of the best edge rushers to do it in Pittsburgh, and you got Hayward. You got Cam Hayward. So I think Dom mentioned earlier what they're doing with. It was Will that mentioned what they're going to do with Connor Hayward. There's no freaking way that dude gets cut. He's definitely staying in Pittsburgh with Cam Hayward there. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, this is an AFC North defense. DeMonte Casey, that's half of the identity right there. So, yeah. They'll injure all the Patriots.
All they need is Kareem Jackson, and then they're really AFC North defense.
Yeah. Wait, isn't he on a team in this division?
No, I think he's on Buffalo or something.
No, you're right.
Give me the schedule, boys.
Let's look at the schedule here. Hey, we can read it, so that's a good thing. Yellow, gold, whatever you want to look at it. Yeah, that's home, and then the white's away. Oh no. Something's definitely.
Yeah, they start off. It's away. They start off the season on the road.
I forgot. The Steelers, for some reason, every couple of years, they always play Week 3 as their home opener.
Yeah, they don't like giving the Steelers home openers. I think last year was the first home opener.
I wonder if
but
the
before that
schedule
was like
people.
15 years.
I wonder if the schedule people really think the Pirates are going to be good. That's why they don't like give them like a home like game or very early in the season.
It still doesn't make any sense because you have the Phillies and the Eagles playing. I mean, you probably name every sports team, they all play in the same vicinity. So it makes zero sense at all. But they just don't like giving the Steelers an opener. So
Well, the funny thing is they always make the Flyers open on a road trip.
In Canada, West Coast,
Phillies and Eagles.
I thought it was the state fair or something that goes on or whatever.
Or the carnival
That too.
thing.
There's always there's always a reason. If the Flyers were good, they would start them at home.
The week one matchup's kind of crazy though. That's a crazy week one matchup for the Steelers because it's like, what are you going to get in the Falcons? Period. We have no clue. Not to mention Arthur Smith, and then it's just like, boom, here we are, Falcons in Atlanta right away. That's a tough one.
And then week 2, you go to Denver, and that's kind of when I think they had Denver early in the schedule for Russell Wilson probably to play that game. So
yeah, they're just like, hey, let's take the people on a revenge tour and see if they could do it.
it's a tough
Crazy.
schedule. It's a tough schedule. So I mean, like I said, if they can somehow get Brandon Ayuk, they go from a 9-win team, 10-win team to 11, 12-win team. I think it pushes them to another level. Right now, I think they're a 9-win team when you look at the schedule. I mean, you could probably go 3-3 for every team in this division as far as division wins. They're going to split with this team most likely is how it usually goes. You don't know what you're getting from Atlanta. Denver's really not good. What is Justin Herbert week 3 in the season with his injury? Anthony Richardson is still technically a rookie pretty much coming out week 4. So they have to get it done early because that back end of the schedule is absolutely brutal. Starting December, holy God. Actually, starting November 17th, holy cow, NFL. What did you do this to me for? As soon as I saw the schedule, I'm like, dude, what is this shit?
After the bye week is awful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, all right, sure, Washington, that's whatever.
You go to that Washington game. You're going to travel with the Berg.
That's the game I have.
That's an easy drive. I'm just saying. Okay, you're going to be like, wow,
That's the game I
MetLife
have
is like pennies on the dollar compared to this place.
Yeah, 2 dumps.
You have the Ravens and then a short week travel to the Browns for Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's a brutal. It is a brutal back end of the schedule. They definitely said, "Hey, Pittsburgh, shove it. Good luck to you."
And then forget about that short week where you are on the road at Baltimore. Then you're home on Christmas Day on a Wednesday against the Chiefs.
You have division, Eagles division, Chiefs. Kansas City division. Like, what, bro?
Yes, this is one of the most disgusting schedules. Like, this is the worst schedule you'll see in football. Like, the back end of the schedule, good luck to you if you win a game type of deal.
I actually don't think you're being biased at all in saying that. Because having 4 straight division games and then Eagles, and then right back to the hardest division matchup you're going to have, and then Kansas City, and then potentially a game that could matter and make everything on your season. That's crazy,
That
dude.
could come down to the Steelers making the playoffs or the Bengals for 1 seed / playoffs, depending on how crazy shit gets.
This is that blows. It blows. I mean, if you don't make playoffs, I could be so okay with you saying I blame everything Sunday.
I would blame the schedule. Like, come on, the game was at least a little mixed up. Like,
The beginning of this schedule is very, very important for Pittsburgh. They got to deliver early on in the season. That's what it comes to.
You don't have a divisional matchup until that Ravens game. That's crazy.
Yeah, you really got to be as close to undefeated before the bye as possible.
Yeah. How do you not have a division matchup before that Ravens game?
NFL hates the Steelers. I don't know. I've always said this that the NFL doesn't like Pittsburgh, but like people argue, "Oh, you get all these calls." No, he did. No. This is a clear showing that they shove it up Pittsburgh.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I feel like every fan says that about their team.
No, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
What's that?
I feel like every fan says that about their team, like, "Oh, the NFL or all the NHL hates my team," or all the NFL, and it's like whatever.
It's the Steelers. Like, come on. That's like saying the NFL hates the Packers or Cowboys.
Do you see this schedule? This is clearly not wanting to have. This is clearly not wanting to have one of your premier franchises still technically in it. If the Steelers struggle early on, like if the quarterback plays bad, they're fucked. Excuse my French. I don't even care. They're fucked.
I mean, there's no other else way
You're not keeping one of your premier franchises in the mix with that schedule, Jake. I'm sorry. So they're shoving up Pittsburgh's ass.
Did you see it?
Yeah, you had a first place schedule. That's what happens. This is just AFC North. Go shove it up your ass schedule. And here, we'll throw Kansas City on for you for Christmas. And we'll send you to Philly too. Like, what the hell are you? This is a brutal. You will not ever. Literally, we'll try to look up the last 10-year schedules worth of random teams. You name the freaking team. You will not see a worse schedule than this. You will not. You will not find a worse like eight game stretch than this schedule. You will not. You will not. I will give you $10 if you find me a schedule worse than this.
I mean, I will say, no matter if that's true or not, I would probably say this is the worst. At least
it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. It just makes everything in the beginning of the season you always hate to hear dumb comments like, "Oh, must win." No, they have to have a really good start to the season going into the bye. They have to. They have to have 2 losses or less. That's their max. 2 losses is their max going into that bye. It has to be. But enough with Pittsburgh. They're around 9-10 wins. If they somehow pull Ayuk out of their ass, jump me from 11 to 12. You have 2 legitimate wideouts. Right now, they're 9-10 wins at best. That's where they're at. Give me Cleveland. Give me the freaking Browns.
I got fruit snacks. Yeah. I can't believe they pick it off the vine. It says real fruit. Like they just pick it right off the vine, throw it in this little package. It's so cool. I can't believe.
Thank you for the close-up of your disgusting commander thing in the back.
That's amazing. I'm so happy that happened. All right.
So this was the Atlanta Falcons of the year where Colton went, 75 minutes talking about the Steelers, which is acceptable because we killed them with the Falcons.
By the way, I tried doing everything I could to move us along, by the way. I tried.
Well, then you just said the NFL hates the Steelers, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
And that's
in my life.
when Allison came in and says, I love a good Colton rant. Colton's going to have a heart attack this season, so that's what's going to happen there.
Give me Cleveland.
All righty. So a year ago, Cleveland had a Deshaun Watson to start the season. They were looking to maybe get some luck coming back from the Houston days with how he used to play back then. Got him some pieces, really tried to get this team going. And then injury after injury after injury. It was Conklin, then Chubb, and it's just the list kept on going on and on and on of just injuries. And then Watson goes down against the Ravens. He ended up finished playing that game against the Ravens. Broken bone in the shoulder, out for the year. Question marks at quarterback. Is it PJ Walker that's going to fill in, who was in for a couple games? Is it DTR who's going to step in? The man on the screen right here is the man that stepped in and became your comeback player of the year. Got him into a playoffs after being at 3rd, 4th, even 5th string in some positions for the Browns team. But 11-6, they fell short against the Houston Texans in the wild card round. Although he's not here with us anymore, Joe Flacco's still elite in the AFC North. He proved it last year, and he's going to prove it again. Well, if there is an again. So shifting into the offense here, there's let's just mention this here too. Next draft, the Browns do have a first-round pick where they haven't had a first-round pick in the draft since the Watson trade. So you're going back 2022 when they traded that onslaught of picks to acquire Watson from the Texans. So, yeah, that's something to look forward to for the Browns here. But, yes, a lot of PUPs, a lot of people not practicing. Will is still not practicing. Conklin is still recovering from the ACL. Nick Chubb, who knows if he's going to play this year. He's coming off of the most horrific knee injury in NFL history.
I mean, didn't we just see a video of him like squatting like 1 billion pounds?
I mean, he always does that. It's just there.
I feel like do that like a month and a half ago. I feel like he's got to be close.
I mean, I wouldn't like rush him, man. Like that knee went a 90-degree angle of where it should not be bending 90 degrees.
Yeah. No, you're right. The fact he's standing blows my mind. So.
Yeah, and then they make the trade for Jerry Jeudy, and they sign him for 3 years and $60+ million. Let's see if that's really going to work out. Amari Cooper's on the last year of his deal. And then you look at the running backs too. Chubb's not there. Then they have Naheem Hines, who's recovering from that freak jet skiing accident last offseason. So Jerome Ford, Donta Foreman, if I forgot what his status is, because I know he was airlifted off the practice field last week. Pierre Strong is still in there. There's a lot of question marks for this team, and it's just a lot of injury related. Is Conklin going to be able to fill in week 1, despite tearing his ACL week 1 against the Bengals? Wills got hurt really late into the season for the Browns. DeJuan Jones, who was really sought after, really high in that 4th round of last year's draft to be a potential starter, a day 1 starter. There's a lot more questions than I can really find answers on this team right now.
Yeah, depending on how fast those PUPs get shed,
Yeah,
it might be back to the pit of misery for the Browns.
I mean, they still I think James Hudson did start for them last year at left tackle. DeJuan Jones definitely was filling in for them last year. Iafetti as well. He's been bouncing around the league
You
as
think
well.
they're going to be able to recreate that magic again? Like, do that again?
Joe Flacco, that thing was just incredible with Flacco. He was just able to step in. And now their offensive coordinator, which I believe was their offensive coordinator, he went to New England. They bring in Ken Dorsey from Buffalo, who was ousted midseason. And he really likes to pass the ball. So now I think the ball's in Watson's court. This is a very big make or break here for the Cleveland Browns, especially with your quarterback that you're paying $50-60 million. I don't even know how much he's getting paid anymore. Because money just bounces all over the place. But yeah, I think Conklin and Wills PUP are definitely going to get wiped out by the time week 1 rolls around. But it's okay. How rusty are you going to be? Because you're not practicing. You're not doing those team reps in practice. You're not facing, actual competition.
Yeah, this has been a weird offseason for Cleveland. So you lose Joe Flacco, who's your cult hero. You're bringing a wolf of a wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy.
I'm going to find the Jameis Winston quote. Hold on. I'm going to find this thing.
You piss off your legitimate number 1 wide receiver that you've been looking for a very long time. You piss him off when Trey talks for Brandon Ayuk. And this team all comes down to Deshaun Watson. It's what it is. This team has a lot of talent on it. We'll see if you can get the best of the Jerry Jeudy because you never saw it in Denver. But you have a very good wideout 1 in Amari Cooper. Elijah Moore that they traded for was a little bit disappointing for them last season. And they bring in Jerry Jeudy. You have 3 legitimate receivers. Oh boy, he's got.
I got it. This is hysterical. I was pissing my pants. This is so funny.
I think that's one of the things that a lot of people forget. When you can go out, you can see practice, you can knick-knack, this, that, patty whack, give a dog a bone. Deshaun Watson is going to turn it on. He always going to find a way to shine when the lights come on. Man, I just rhymed. Can I leave off that one? I know that one going to hit.
I truly, this team, what is wrong with Jameis Winston? God almighty. Why do we keep putting a microphone in front of this guy? Anyway, he is right, though. Actually, he's not right, by the way. I haven't seen Deshaun Watson from Houston in probably 5 years at good Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, I don't know what they're getting in Cleveland. It's what it comes down to. They paid Deshaun. It's what you're getting. They got a solid defense. I know we're getting ready to get into the defense. I just don't
make or break them because that offense might be rough.
Yeah, I don't like this offense. I think if I'm going to give my unbiased opinion, I think they're going to crumble. I'm not going to lie. I feel like this is one of those situations I feel like we've seen where it's like, hey, it's got to be a bounce back thing. Hey, maybe they have it. Maybe they don't. Whatever. There's injuries. And it just never comes together. You see coaches fired by the end of the season. And then it's just like we see a different team next year. People are like, oh, man, big changes. I feel like this is one of those situations that we've seen it before. It'll happen, and that's kind of where I'm at with this team, which is, listen, that's a little bit of an extreme reaction, of course, but I feel like
Browns. No, it's not.
Yeah, well, that's also true. I feel like the writing's kind of on the wall, and we've seen this before.
I mean, we know they like to run the ball, but they're going to need to do some serious ball control and defense.
But even if they like to run the ball, I don't look at this and say, hey, this is a top 20 running game. You know, like I
do like Foreman.
Oh.
I really do. Like that's going to be your smart
Yeah.
guy. Ford's going to be your third down receiving back, and I don't know where you fit Pierre Strong because I don't really know much about Pierre Strong. If Hines comes back, I mean that opens it up a little bit more. But also he's coming off of an ACL, dislocated knee, whatever happened in that jet skiing accident. There's just those bigger questions with rust and all that stuff. Because again, he hasn't played since. Man, you go back to when they had those kick returns against the Patriots after the Hamlin incident for Buffalo. Like, that's the last time he's really played a football game.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I'm not optimistic.
I think we need to see the defense.
And I don't even think it's that bad of a team. I don't even mind the receivers, but like Colton said, there's just not good situations here. Like I don't know. Yeah, that's like
it's a good roster. There can be a lot. You can't see all the red right now. They're going to get these guys back. Chubb's going to end up playing. Conklin's going to play, and so is Willis. They're a very good team. It all comes down to Deshaun Watson. That's been the problem. They've given Deshaun. The thing is, Cleveland's very weird. The Bears never put the things around Justin Fields. Now Justin Fields gone. Now they loaded up for Williams with all the weapons, and they bring in Deshaun Watson, and they put weapons around him, and he still sucks. Like David Njoku's a good tight end. Amari Cooper's a legitimate number one receiver. Jerry Jeudy, sure, he sucks, but he's a solid number 2, number 3 option, and so is Elijah Moore. And you have one of the best running backs when he's healthy in Nick Chubb. Like, there's a ton around Deshaun to be successful, and Deshaun still sucks. That's the problem. You paid Deshaun, and you haven't gotten Deshaun from Houston. That's been the problem. You've seen, sure, like I got before he got hurt, I think, who did they play? Was it the Bengals or the Ravens that he actually played well in? I think he had a comeback winning.
Watson against the Ravens, where he broke his bone in the shoulder. He went 16 for 16, and they had a last-second drive against the Bengals.
That's been the closest we've seen to like Deshaun from Houston in the time he's been in Cleveland. And then the problem is, okay, he got hurt. So then what are we getting from Deshaun again? So that's the problem. So like, sure, James is hyping up his guy, but I got to see it from Deshaun Watson. Like we're going to get into the defense now. It's a good defense. But for me, when it comes down to it, we'll always ask at the end, what makes this team – it's Deshaun. It's literally Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun sucks, this team's last in the division. That's kind of where they're at.
So on the defense here, they just signed JOK to an extension today. So he's now locked down for another 4 years. It's crazy to think that he's already been in the league for enough time to get in a contract extension. Zadarius Smith is still there. Myles Garrett's still there. That's still a really good, edge-to-edge pass rushing duo, especially in the North where, all these teams have, a 1-2 combo on both sides of the football. Devin Bush comes back to the AFC North after a little stint with the Seahawks. Jordan Hicks comes in after a little stint with the Vikings. Yeah, they make the move, bringing in Justin Hardy, who's going to be your special teamer. They bring in a whole lot of these other. I need to bring up this list here. So they bring in Devin Bush, Hicks. Those are the only 2 moves that they really made on the defense, but they did end up losing Jordan Elliott, Anthony Walker, Mike Ford. They still have a really good cornerback group. I mean, once Greg Newsome gets off the NFI list, Martin Emerson, he's going to take another step this year.
This was the top-ranked defense in the entire league last year?
Yes, Jim Schwartz is a genius. He is a really good defensive-minded guy.
That's crazy. Wow.
I think that it's really just what will make them successful is being able to play sound defense and then do the 2016-17 Cowboys where you run the ball and burn clock and you make it so they have to do the whole field to catch up with you. That's time after time after time.
That was the entire. This was the San Fran game, right, where they beat San Fran. Everyone was shocked because their defense went off, and they sat on the lead and won the game, and everyone was like, "What?"
I don't think they sat on the lead. They had to play didn't
they kick a game-winning field goal?
Oh, is that what? Oh, wait, is that when they threw to Amari Cooper 50 plays in a row? It felt like
probably.
And I remember because we did the power rankings last year, and they went up 12 spots or something stupid like that, or substantial. I don't know, but that defense was nuts last year. That defense was the defense. So I guess that it does make sense they were a top defense because that was a crazy show by them. Yeah,
look, despite Flacco throwing, 3 picks a game basically on average when he was starting, this team was keeping them in the games. Like, they shut down the Jaguars. They were good down the stretch. This team was really good, shutting down the Bears in the hopes that maybe Justin Fields could be a year 4 starter for the Bears. Yeah, I don't know. That run with Flacco was really magical. It really was. So I don't know if we want to head over into the schedule here.
Yeah, let's.
let's. Is this a
Forgot
bad
what-
schedule?
No, I like the schedule. It's readable.
I mean, they all play the NFC East too, so they're all these are going to be kind of on the rougher side,
Well,
depending on how you see the Commanders.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
I
going
don't
to say,
see-
not playing in these places when it's like cold is going to be good, but I forgot they play in colder places than most of these places they'll be traveling to.
Tell you what, they don't have a good end of the. Well, it's not that bad, but the last 5 weeks sucks.
Yeah, I mean that middle of the stretch, like the Raiders, you don't know what the Raiders are going to be. The Commanders, they're the biggest question mark, and the Eagles, hey, they're still going to be a physical football team.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Browns are so good against the Bengals. I can honestly chalk them up for a sweep on the season against the Bengals, because Joe Burrow cannot play against the Browns whatsoever. He literally averages like 120 passing yards in like 7 contests against them.
Ooh, and they
He's
got
just
3
that
road
bad.
games. 3 road games in a row always sucks.
And then they got 3 home games to follow it too.
It's an AFC North schedule, man. It's definitely a brutal schedule. So I mean, there's just a little more spread out of death. But yeah, that final stretch of the season, week 14 on, is not a fun stretch there.
I mean, playing the Dolphins in the cold is going to give you a much bigger advantage because
Oh,
you
of
don't know what
course.
that weather's going to be in the end of December. If you're going to get snow or just a torrential
Oh,
downpour,
that's gonna be awful. That is gonna be painful for Miami.
I don't know if it's going to be
Yeah, I
32, 35 degrees and just downpours, or it's going to be snowing and just.
I think that's an easy. I wouldn't say an easy win, but that's a win for Cleveland. Even with Deshaun, you can throw any quarterback in there. There's as long as Nick Chubb's healthy, that's just going to be try to tackle me in the cold. Miami.
At night, yeah, it's gonna be freaking rough, bro. All
I
right,
can watch it on my nice cozy couch and not sit outside during that game.
I don't know, man.
I could give them 8 wins, maybe 9 wins. Like I really can give them a sweep for the Bengals, and I think they could probably pull out either a win against the Steelers or the Ravens. I think they could go 3-3 in the division. One team's going to sweep them.
Well, the Ravens on that last week might not be playing starters, so I mean, you might be able to give.
I'm not
Cleveland
that concerned over the Cowboys either. Like the Cowboys did lose a lot of pieces, and I think facing the Cowboys without Dan Quinn could be a bigger advantage.
Cowboys
heading into
always
week
start hot though.
Yeah, they beat
Cowboys
the hell out
always
of Tom
start
Brady
hot.
2 years ago. 3 years ago. 4.
I say like 8 wins, 9 wins.
Yeah, I'm between 8 and 10. 10 if maybe they beat Miami and then Baltimore doesn't play starters, so maybe like 10 wins. But I was sitting at 8, and then you guys said the thing about Miami, and then I looked at Ravens there. So yeah, I have 8 to 10 probably.
Yeah, I counted 9, including Miami as a win because of the cold and how Miami is end of season.
Yeah,
It's a big range with this team, like with this whole schedule. I mean, seriously though, they lose Deshaun. Who thinks they're going on a run with Joe Flacco to go on to get 11 wins?
Yeah, but that's the conversation with any team is they lose their quarterback. How many do you see them winning now?
Well, no, but that's my point though. Like we talk about like how the Bengals could probably be winning this division, but then it's like Joe Burrow's injury history. Like this whole division, I feel like has a range. Like this is the lowest they'll have is 8 wins or 9 wins is the lowest you'll get from this division, and the highest from each team could be up to 13 wins. I feel like that's for every team in this division. It sounds stupid, but last year proved it. So Burrow goes down. Deshaun Watson goes down, and they both end up with over 500 records. And the Steelers had no quarterbacks, and they still ended up over 100. Like, that's this whole division. It can go from bottom is 8 wins, like worst case scenario, Lamar goes down, Burrow, Deshaun, whatever quarterback goes down, at a max of 13 wins. Like, that's the range of this whole entire division. So I don't want someone coming back and clipping us. Oh, you idiots had us at 9 wins and we ended up having 12. Like, that's his whole division. It's 8 to 13 wins is the whole range for this entire division.
Yeah, I hope they get 0 wins because of that stupid bye week illustration. Not gonna lie, I really.
You don't like the elf?
Do you? Oh God! Do you remember when they played? I think the Buccaneers, and someone broke into the stadium like days before, ripped donuts on a golf cart in the middle of the
that
field.
was Cleveland. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Cleveland.
remember that? Yeah, and that was the midfield thing.
I was just gonna bring up how that might be the most exciting part of their season.
That was the midfield thing for that game. So
Yeah.
it's funny. Let's shift into focus here. Let's go into your AFC North champion, AFC runner-up. Your Baltimore Ravens, who a year ago, a lot of question marks going into the season. Lamar Jackson gets paid. He shows up getting paid. He wins your most valuable player award. You bring in a guy in Zay Jones. He really elevates the offense. Mark Andrews goes down with an injury. Isaiah Likely goes up. He makes some plays. The Ravens defense goes from basically the bottom of the league to one of your top 5 units in football, and just a drastic year change, which is incredible to really think about. And now 2024 comes around. Let me pull us out here. There we go. Can the Ravens repeat success going into 2024 as they did last year? That is really the biggest question I have for this team. Looking at this team, I mean, elephant in the room here, Derrick Henry. The Ravens at one point were a run-by-committee team after, your Ray Rice leaves, Alex Collins leaves, all of these just running backs and stuff. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they go into Los Angeles to join Harbaugh, the other Harbaugh to be exact. So now Derrick Henry is essentially your workhorse. You have Justice Hill who could fill in. Keaton Mitchell, whenever he recovers from that ACL injury, he could do that as well. There isn't much else. Deontay Hardy's, one name. Odell goes to South Beach. He takes his talents down there. It's not like he did much for the Ravens last year anyway. I don't really have much on this team. I mean, the offensive line is still there. They slide in Andrew Voorhees, who would have been a first or second round pick in 2023, but despite him tearing his knee apart at the combine, fell all the way to the 7th round. He's now going to fill in, and he's going to be a stud at left guard where Kevin Zeitler was before he went to Detroit. So, yeah, I got nothing else to say on this team, but, not much has changed here for your Baltimore Ravens.
Well, I mean, Derrick Henry is a gigantic addition.
I mean, that was the first thing I mentioned, though. Yeah.
Other than that,
they always have good running backs, regardless of who it is.
But, I mean, Derrick Henry, it's like teams are definitely going to overcompensate for the fact that they have Derrick Henry. It opens the field up for Lamar, both running and both passing. So, I mean, like, at least for the first part of the season, I feel like teams are going to heavily commit at Derrick Henry or just the run game or contain in general. And then, it could really open up the field for Lamar. And then Odell and whatnot, it's Nelson Aguilar, and he's a competent receiver. A number 3 receiver he's not bad at all. Granted, he's had issues, holding the ball and whatnot.
He found how to catch the football, though.
On the Patriots, I actually liked him. But, I don't know. I don't think it matters because they did it before, and Odell wasn't even doing much, and it worked for Lamar last year and everything. And I don't know. It's just a good team, straight up. And Derrick Henry, it's a little bit scary. And I think it's more the name than it is actually going to be the performance because everyone sees that and they're, terrified now. So, I think teams may overcompensate for that. But
it's a very Lamar and a very Baltimore type offense here with the run game. I actually think they probably should have went out and got Saquon Barkley over Derrick Henry.
They definitely probably made an attempt for him.
Yeah, probably.
They should have gotten Saquon over Derrick Henry because what's always been kind of like the question about the Ravens, if the Ravens go down, you probably have them. Like if you're going to make Omar sit back and have to throw the ball, you're not going to have Derrick Henry on the field in those situations. Derrick Henry's not a good receiving back. I know he's busted some of those screens and he's gone. But the problem is that's not going to happen if they're losing. They need to try to come back in a game. You're not going to keep Derrick Henry out in the field. That's going to be a Justice Hill there where That's Saquon Barkley. That is terrifying. The quick dump it off to Saquon, and Saquon's going to get you 9-10 yards. You're not really going to get that with Derrick Henry. So that's why, again, you're comparing peanuts here with that decision. It's not like it's a huge difference, but I just thought if you're going to go out and get a running back, Saquon Barkley is probably the better suited guy for the Ravens. Sure, it's still terrifying having Derrick Henry back there and a run-first offense like they want to do with Lamar Jackson, but I just think Saquon Barkley would have been, I think, even better as a free agent pickup over Derrick Henry.
It's just funny because it's Derrick Henry, and they also are one of the teams that actually use a fullback behind that monstrous offensive line with Filele. Like, it's just those are just three dudes who will run you over. So just kind of like that's the funny part about it. Like everyone forgets also, Keaton Mitchell was really good for that stretch last season.
Yeah, he was a fast guy. Like I think he was one of the fastest people on this team last year.
Like he was phenomenal. But I don't really have anything to add for offensive wise. Like
I also forgot Morgan Moses. He got traded to the Jets. So Roger Rosengartner fills in for right tackle. So
it's the Ravens. They draft well.
Where did he go to school? He went to Washington. So
yeah, I mean, this is just cool. Like Ravens offense is going to remain.
They lost a lot, though. They did lose a lot. Like Huntley leaves, Dobbins leaves, Edward leaves, Morgan Moses gets traded. John Simpson also follows Morgan Moses. Zeitler.
I think it's water under the bridge, though. I think it's replaceable, and they got replaced, and it's fine.
They've lost a lot. Wait till you get to the defense.
Yeah, I like the Voorhees move. I know that's like a year and like advance. You're just going to place him on IR because he was recovering from the knee injury from the combine. So, and now again, Voorhees was a first-round talent too coming into that draft. He was going to be a first or second-round talent. He falls all the way to the seventh from. So that's pennies on the dollar for the Ravens.
Yeah, but I'm saying just this offense. I don't think that we're going to be like, oh, wow, this offense can't perform well. I think it's still going to perform well. I think it's still going to be a top offense. I think they're going to thrive. I think it just is what it is, So, I don't know.
So let's shift into the defense here. Yeah, so they did lose Jadeveon Clowney. Patrick Queen goes to Pittsburgh. Ronald Darby also leaves. Rock Ya-Sin leaves. Geno Stone. I mean, he goes to Cincinnati. So you do lose a couple pieces to divisional opponents. I know last year we got ridiculed because I said, this is the worst defense in football. We got our asses lit.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't let me speak the entire time. And I was like, what do you guys? I'm like, all right, well, if you just want to keep going, sure. Like, what's bad about it? What's bad about him now? Because
there's nothing. I mean, they get Nick Wiggins, who I think got hurt during the Eagles game. I think if he did, it's not that serious of an injury. But the cornerbacks get stronger for them, especially with Marlon Humphreys, who's healthy, Brandon Stevens, who's healthy, and then really the other thing is Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams. They also bring in Eddie Jackson, who is a starter on most teams, and he's a backup right now for the Ravens. There's really nothing that just like screams like, oh, hey, like there's like a weakness on this team. Like, again, just like the Steelers, just like the Browns, this is an AFC North defense where good luck going against them because you're going to get lit up if no matter what you're trying to do, run, pass, option play.
Yeah, they were the sixth ranked defense last year.
See, like, but they're also.
I think it might be McDonald leaving, though, might be a question mark. So
that one hurts.
Yeah.
But as far as like replacing talent, this is one of the best in the business at doing it.
I mean, has John Harbaugh ever had a bad defense?
That Ravens defense 2 years ago? Yeah.
Was that bad, though? Yeah.
They were letting up like double-digit leads like every game. They just couldn't hold the lead.
That is true.
Well, it was a lot of that.
The former player for the Ravens, Zach Orr, he fills in now as a defensive coordinator. So, hey, another player gone coaching, just like Mayo, just like D'Amico Ryans, gonna get a name out there for himself, and let's see what he can do now as a defensive coordinator for the Ravens. I don't have much else to say. Just there's really. To me, it's not a whole lot of pieces. I know they always just get them in. They fill right in. They just flip-flop. Or as Jameis Winston says, knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. I don't know what's worse, that or the Colts song. I don't know. But I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on it, on this team?
No, nothing besides, like, I also like the depth of this team, like I did with the Bengals. Like I think that, and we're going to talk about AFC North. You gotta withstand, injuries, and
Cold, and
it's the team really that has the best attrition that wins, not the overall standout team most of the times in this division.
it is true.
Let's head to the schedule here. And I couldn't really find a much better schedule, so I apologize, Jake. Those eyes are going to be strained.
No,
See, this is like what I did last year. I would have cut this and zoomed in because, the Rams one was terrible last week. It was.
If you have a clear home and away color wise,
yeah,
and it's not like big text with little text right next to it.
and this has week 1, 2, 3 huge, which is nice. So I don't have to figure out if it's up, down, or left, right. So that's
I don't
nice.
know the time on these things because it's just
That's okay. I mean, that sucks, but that's okay. It's not a big deal.
They have a late season bye, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
holy
Eagles, and
hell,
the Eagles
bro.
bye. I mean,
Four
you would have to think the teams that are playing on Christmas, they gave them the option. Like, do you want a late bye because you're going to be getting 3 games in 11 days? Like, I think they would have to offer them that, just like the London teams or the Germany teams. Do you want to take your bye right after going and all that stuff?
Tell you what, starting at Kansas City blows. That's tough, man.
I mean, like if you're like the Lions last year, I mean, like the Lions went in there and they shocked the world. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what the Ravens can do the same thing if the stars align.
Still not easy though.
I mean, yeah, you got to go to Jerry's World week 3, and they're going to be just clamoring because it's still early. They'll think it's a Super Bowl contender and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Dak
Well,
for
that's
MVP. Dak for MVP. I don't know. I still think this is, a double digit. I think 10 is like a nice like medium here. They could definitely go above. I don't know. I think they could go as low as 9, but it is a double digit win team by the end of the day.
I have
AFC North gap. I'm telling you,
I have
they
them
have a big wide range.
I have 10, 11.
Yeah,
I think that's the first one I've actually counted 10 though.
I have like 11, 12 maybe. I think they get 10. I think that's easy, and then they can squeak out another one from a real opponent and whatnot. Maybe 10, 11. A healthy Lamar all year is 10 or 11.
As long as he's not eating any like bison tail pizza or whatever he was out of training camp for like a week after eating.
That's wild.
I don't know what food he ate, but that was that might have been a meme. Who knows?
Sure, it could have been.
Did you get memed again?
I mean, I think that was the meme the entire time, and it's just like, oh, what did Lamar eat? And then I saw salmon shrimp Alfredo, and it's like Lamar 5 minutes before game time.
Jake brought it up.
That was still the most.
What was it? The Sidney Sweeney thing?
Yeah, with Trey Palmer on the bench and the Buccaneers.
Awful. God, please just wrap it up. I don't need to rehash this again.
I just love that Will made it a point to bring up the most obscure rumor ever, and we're all like, "Yeah, no, let's hear it." And he said it, and we're all like, "Oh no,
this guy."
This guy. We didn't even need to check the sources to know there was no way that was real. That was funny.
Before we round out the show, Dom, can you bring up the Wheel of Misfortune here?
Yeah.
I don't know how many slices you got on this pizza here, but let's figure it out.
I think there's a lot. Is there actually only 2 slices on the wheel? I think there was a lot last time with like the same.
I think we should have split it up into like
that.
Okay, I like that.
Oh god.
It's literally 2. It's 50-50.
Oh my god.
It is 50.
Alrighty. Are we going to stay on the East Coast and travel to Texas, or is it just the West Coast and travel to Kansas City? Either way, it's the same thing.
This wheel could kick Jake straight down because Jake's been like, we need a wheel so that I don't have to be last. And here is a 50-50 chance to be absolute last.
Alrighty. And where are we going to go? We don't even know where it's going to go.
Oh,
come on.
Jake got his wish.
I wanted.
You guys know if it kept moving to the other one, I was leaving.
It was close. It started to.
I was really hoping. I was like, oh man, like I was really hoping, like, oh hey, the NFC East could be last. I was gonna text down and be like, can you do a wheel where it's like no episode in the NFC East, and if it lands on it, we don't do an episode for the NFC East, and really just
that would.
I would have done 2 slices.
Dom should have snuck in another random division on this, by the way. Just like snuck in like AFC West onto that list. and like hope to God it went through.
That
That's
is the other one.
The other one was it.
Son of a nugget! I meant AFC South. Oh God, I hate the AFC South. I'd actually rather it that.
Yeah, we gotta
Should have like snuck in like one of those like upside down ones like you can't really read it. It's like seeing the repeat. Like okay, it's definitely like AFC West and NFC East. So like just sneak in another division there, and it lands on it magically.
And Atlantic Division or something just so.
Something that even exists? That'd be great. Oh God,
the old Atlantic.
The AFC Central.
That would have been hilarious. And this lands like, wait a minute, what?
The AFL or something.
And then we just talk about the old pastimes.
I blame Dom because he accidentally spun it like before the show and it landed on the AFC West. So that probably was what
I accidentally spun it before. I was like, "Oh, Jake, man, it could be foreshadowing."
You could have done like the like baseball National League East.
Yeah.
All right, but that, ladies and gentlemen, rounds out our show. You can follow us on YouTube for the Fan Network, TikTok. If you're still here, follow us for the Fan Network as well. Twitter and/or X for the Fan _ and Instagram for the Fan Football. You can listen to us next day on your local podcasting platform, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, no Google Podcast because that doesn't exist anymore. So the nice long run is over with them. Yeah, that's about it. I got nothing else, gentlemen. Final 8 teams. Awesome. All righty. And thank you all for tuning in. This is For the Fan. Every Wednesday all the way through February, live weekly content. Yeah, everyone enjoy the day. And yeah.
Will sucks.
I didn't